Introduction to Web Programming, HTML Part 1. So let's talk about HTML, the one cornerstone of web programming. So we have this hypertext markup language called HTML. That's a keystone in web applications. The first version was released in 1991. It had only 18 tags. We will cover the concept tags later on. Second version, HTML 2.0, released in 1995, and it was the official version, first official version, but not a standard. And 3.2 was released only 2 years later, and back then we had the browser wars between Internet Explorer and Netscape Navigator. And the HTML 3.2 was reflecting that in that sense that the browsers wanted to make a lot of new tags and features that were not what HTML actually was, but it was what browser manufacturers, Netscape and Microsoft, wanted to build into the HTML. This HTML 3.2 was really a mess. It has had a really horrible tagging, and HTML 4.0 was released in the same year. It fixed the thing in that sense that it had better everything. There was no those tags anymore that were added to the HTML 3.2. And this 4.0 was the first official standard. Then in 2000, HTML 1.0 was released, so HTML was made XML compatible, but in the end it was basically the same as HTML 4.0, but it was kind of useless. So here are the different HTML versions and number of tags. So in the beginning we had 18 tags, and now we are working with HTML5, and it has over 100 tags. So it is gotten quite a bit bigger. So and the HTML5 is still continuously improving, so there might be new tags coming in near future, and some tags might be got removed and things like that. Some tags were removed in when we came from HTML2 to HTML3 and then to 4 and 5. But these tags were either bad or they were no used. So HTML5 was released in 2014, and now we are working with HTML 5.2, which was released 2017. Well, it's finally a platform to support all kind of applications, so we can have browser-based games. They are possible through Canvas and WebGL tools, and well, HTML5 is basically just a set of tags, but in many times if we are speaking of HTML, hey, I have HTML5 application, it means that we have HTML5 there, we have JavaScript 5 Plus and CSS3, and they all are under the HTML5 umbrella. With HTML5 we can have videos in the web page, we can read microphone, we can use sounds, etc. Basically anything. You can build application, full featured application inside browser. Google is a key player here, as you can have Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Meets. They are all working inside browser. The only tools that you need, you have the HTML, you have the JavaScript and CSS, and you can build applications that could not have been built 20 years ago in browser. They had to be different desktop application, but nowadays basically everything can be run inside the browser. HTML file is a plain text, so there are only basically English alphabet letters and few other characters. It's a plain text file. It's not compiled or anything like that. And then what are these tags? So HTML is not a programming language. Python is a programming language, Java is a programming language, but HTML is a markup language. So you just mark up your text. And with HTML, one cannot tell how an element should look like. We cannot use HTML to say that this button is green, or this button should be very big, or this image is in the upper right corner. This is not what we do with HTML. This is what we do with JavaScript, but HTML only gives an element a semantic meaning. So we can say that this text is important, or this text is a header, this is a table, or this is an image. We can have these semantic meanings, and of course we can have links. So that's one of the cornerstones in HTML, and it was one of the key features what was the reasons behind the building the worst World Wide Web pages with HTML, to have links to other pages. So we can give a meaning to an element. So this is something like that, but we cannot define how the element should look like. We have headers, for example. Header 1 is usually presented with the biggest font, the bigger font than H3, header 3. But you can override this, and you can make that the header 3 is the font size 72 and header 1 is only using font size 8. This is absolutely bad design, but yeah, you can do it. So HTML itself cannot override this kind of a design. But then again, if you are using, let's say, screen reader that do not use any styles, so they understand that the H1 is higher than H3. So that's why it's important to use these semantic pre-formatted rules. So we have the element hierarchy invented correctly and implemented correctly. So over 100 tags in HTML5, but basically if you know 20 of them, you can build a working web page. In this course you will cover something like 40-50 tags, but there are still more tags available, not that much used, but still in some cases very useful. More tags. So what is a tag? So here is a tag, H1. So we are defining in the HTML file that we have a header, and this is the biggest level 1 header, and it's inside this H1 tag. So we have a less than sign H1 and greater than, and it is the tag. And then there is also this closing tags in the end. So there is a less than /p greater than, which encloses the tag. So we can have headers, we can have paragraphs, and we have these opening tags there, and then we have the closing tag. And all the information like text, images, videos, table data, etc., they are inside the tags, and thus they become visible in the web page. Some tags do not require closing, and other can have attributes. So these are very important. So we have a link, which is done with the A tag, which means anchor. And we have some kind of a URL. So we use this href to href attribute to define where is this link taking us. So here we have a link to LUT web page. We can have images. So here we have 2 attributes, and we do not have any closing tag, so we do not need to close the tag at all. So image tag img is used to show images in the web page. So, and then there are 2 attributes. First is this alternative, and it says what kind of a text, for example, screen reader is getting. Screen reader cannot interpret what the JPEG image has, but it can take this alt attribute. And then there's src source. It means that there is a doge.jpg image that is then shown in the web page. This can be written self-enclosing tag. So then there is, in the end, there is a slash, and this is how you did it with XHTML. There you had to have some enclosing, and then can be these self-enclosing tags. So we have an opening tag, we have a closing tag, but only here in the link, not in the image. And you can have self-enclosing tags if you wish to have. And there are a lot of attributes. They are very important in HTML. So with attributes, some tags get additional but necessary information. So if we had a link tag but we don't have any attributes, so we would have no way to direct the user to any other web page. And what image could be shown if there would be no any attribute. So here is the tag, content, and element. So a simple HTML page has only few elements and tags marking them. So if we have this h1 element, so we have the tag and an enclosing tag, and we have a content between those tags, and this concept forms as an element. And HTML is case insensitive, so you can have an uppercase letter or lowercase letter, it doesn't matter, they both work fine. In the 90s, it was the thing that all the tags were written in uppercase, but nowadays lowercase is way more used, as the XHTML only accepted lowercase letters, if I remember correctly, or at least it was case sensitive. And let's have a simple example what we can have in the HTML page. Okay, here is my Visual Studio and Chromium browser development environment. I have a browser server running. This is an Apache server, and I have a Introduction to Web Programming course and Demo 1 folder here. And the folder is empty, so there is nothing. Let's add new file called index.html. Now there is an index.html, and the page is pretty much empty as we have not written anything. I have a few plugins installed, auto closing tag and renaming tags, and HTML5 boilerplate, etc. This might be useful in some cases. So if I'm writing here HTML, I can select few things here. So first there is this kind of boilerplate. It gives you a lot. We don't need that much, but we can use this HTML5 boilerplate. So now we have the basic page. Let's save it and now refresh. Nothing happened. Oh, something happened. Here we have a title document. It is now changed. So this is the only element inside head that is visible in the browser. So now we are not building a document, we want to build curriculum vitae, CV. What else we have here? So we have, first we define that this document is typed HTML. This is very simple. This is all the HTML documents start with this line. Then the language is English, and then we go to the we start the HTML tag, and we define that language is English. Then in the header we set the character set, and then this is not important for us right now, but it's there. And viewport, and we set the scaling. This is mainly for the mobile browsers, so we don't need to care of that. But then we have a title, and now we can start writing something here in the body part. So we can just add the h1 tag and have a CV here. So this is the basic HTML web page, and we can inspect this. So now we can see what we have here in the web page. This is pretty much the same thing as here in our coding environment. We have also console, etc. here in the inspections tools, and we can change to the mobile view, etc. if we want. But we will work with these tools later on. And then let's see what most common elements are in the web page. So the whole page markup is inside in the HTML the element. So it means that this is the page inside these tags. Then we have the header inside the head tags. And this basically includes meta information. So we are telling the browser that we have this and this kind of for example, CSS files or JavaScript files and other definitions. For example, there is this character encoding. We usually use Unicode. And links to external CSS definitions, JavaScript files, and specs for the browser. Usually, as we want to build our web page to look nice also in mobile devices, we define viewport settings. And then there is this only one tag that is actually shown in the browser, is the title of the page, which is then shown in the browser window header. After the header, we have the body, and the body has everything that is visible in the browser window content area. So this is the place where you are building your application or web page or whatever you are building inside the browser. And then actual tags. So as mentioned, there are over 100 tags available. Here are the most relevant ones. So we have the headers. HTML has 6 headers through H1 to H6. So there is no H7 or H8, but these 6 are available. We have simple paragraphs. So basically, if you are showing text, plain text in your web page, you are using the paragraph element. We have also pre-formatted texts. If you need simple way to show, for example, programming code, then this pre tag is a simple way to do it. There are other ways too, but that's a simple. If you need bold, strong text, you use strong tag. If you need emphasized, also known as italics text, you use em tag. And then there is a way to build link as seen before. So A is the correct tool for that. We can show image files in the web page, and we can have line breaks. So if you press enter in your paragraph tags and start a new line, the enter is not shown, the new line is not shown in the browser. If you insist that you need to have a line break, then you need to have this BR break tag there, and it doesn't have an enclosing tag. But with PR you can get a line break. Let's check an example on these tags. Okay, let's continue with our CV. First of all, let's put this. Now we have a little bit. Better this one, and I need an image. And yeah, I would like to have my image here, but I do not have any image. Let's just get an image. And now I have an image here. I can check it. Yeah, it's my image. So we have a header. Then just continue. Let's have a name for me. Yeah, I cannot write my name. Very good. And let's have an image for me. So image source. The source is in this same folder, so I can just write that it's photo. That it's me. And yeah, like that. Let's see. yeah, this is now me. But let's not stop here. We want more information. So let's put H2 work history in my CV. I have been working in LUT and several other places like Tampere University and University of Tampere, and then back again with LUT. Yeah, now I have a work history here. Then we need also education, H2. We have one H1 here, which is the main header, and then we are using H2s here. Education starts PhD 2050. We can also add some years here. So I started with LUT 2008 and University of Tampere 2016 and Tampere University 2019, and then came back to the LUT 2020. What else? Well, I have some kind of a language skills. Let's put them here. Finnish is my native language. English is my professional language, and as you can hear, it's the Rally English. And then I can also speak Swedish. I like it, so it's okay. And I have just learned the basics of Spanish. Muy bien. And I have some other projects too. Like this. So what else? Well, this is pretty much my curriculum vitae, my resume. But yeah, this should be link. Why not? So now we had already the image source, but let's build a link here. So this directs me to my web page. Like this. Now there is a link to my web page. Yes, it's rendering. Yeah. And of course, as other projects, let's just copy paste here other links like this. And now you can see that these lines, they are going over here. So if I just press Alt plus G, then it's going like that. This is way more readable here. Okay, and how this looks like? Yeah, it looks like okay. There are links to my other projects, my work history, education, language skills. Yeah, this is good. This is how you use the basic HTML tags. And there are even more tags available. So we can have lists. So OL defines an ordered list. So we can have list items 1, 2, 3, or ABC or Roman numbers if you wish. Then there is UL defines unordered list. So there are basically just those dots that are also present in this presentation. And then there is this LI, which defines list item, and these tags and elements need to be inside OL or UL. And besides lists, we can have tables. So a table element defines the actual table. Then we can have a caption in this table. And then there's table header, T-head, and T-body that defines the actual table body, and T-food that defines table footer. And inside these T-head, T-body, or T-food, we actually have to have table row, TR, and then there is a th, which defines table header cell. So these are basically inside this t-head usually. And td, table data, that defines the normal table cell, and there you can have something that you want to present in table, for example some numerical data. And once again, let's have a short example on so this. Let's continue. So for example, I would like to have this as strong, my name here, and why not to have this as emphasized? Yeah, now it's like that. As you can see, this is these are all 3 letters, but this is a 4 letter. So let's add a space here. Now they are in the same line. Let's refresh. Nothing happens. As I mentioned, it doesn't matter if I put even 100 spaces there. Nothing happens. If I put line breaks, nothing happens. So this is the HTML feature. You cannot have line breaks like that. You need to use free. So if we want to have a line break like that, then we have, now we have the spaces here also. There are plenty of spaces. Or if I wanted to have a line break here, so I can use this break tag, but it's definitely not wise. So let's not put them here. And I don't want this to be here, so I can comment this out. There is a comment tag in HTML like this. First of all, I have these language skills, but let's modify this now so that we would have a list here. So unordered list is fine. Like this. And then let's modify all these to be just list items. Like this. Yeah. Okay, this looks good. Let's take this out. Just by commenting it out now, it's fine. And then, as mentioned, this does not look good, so we could use some table, for example, to present the work history. So let's build a table. So we are using this table element. Inside that we are going to need the head. After that we have the T body. And inside the T head we are going to need a new row, table row, and table header cell, organization. We are building the headers in this table, years, and then some kind of description of the work. And similarly, then we need to have in this body, we are building a new row. We are building a data there. So LUT 2020 teaching. And we can copy paste this like that, and then just put Tuni and Uta 2008, 2016, 2019. Searching. Yeah. Teaching. Development. Yeah, let's see what it looks like. Okay, this is quite okay. Now we can see that these headers are in center and these data cells are left aligned. But we can change that later when we learn how to. We don't need that information 2 times. Yeah, now we have all the basic HTML elements in use. This is pretty much suitable. So with HTML, you are building an element tree. HTML elements form a nested tree, and it is not okay to start element, so having open tag inside one element and ending it, closing that within another element. So if you are opening a tag inside a tag, then you are closing the tag inside that tag, or element actually, not tag, but element. So in that sense, you will build a tree, like here in the image you have the body, and inside that body there is table, and inside table there is tbody, inside that there is tr, and inside that there is td, which is then closed, and after that tr is closed, after that tbody is closed, after that table is closed, and after that finally the body is closed. So that is the correct order. If you would do it wrong way, then you would open a paragraph, then you would open emphasizing, closing paragraph, and closing emphasize. That is the incorrect way to do it. And the right way is to do it to open paragraph, then open emphasize, and then closing emphasize, and then closing the paragraph. Editors and browsers inspection tools trust that there is a clear tree to parse. So if you are writing the tags in incorrect order, browser cannot know what you really want, and they might interpret it somehow wrongly, or they might just skip the wrong tags. In HTML5, the default way, if browser meets something that it doesn't know, it just skips it, but it's basically not always the case. So, as a conclusion, this was a quick introduction to HTML, and there will be a follow-up part with more tags, of course. And you can validate your code with a validator. There is, for example, this validator.w3.org. So it checks if your web page is valid HTML and give you error list or suggestions that these things needs to be fixed before your web page validates. And there are of course tags listed in the internet. W3 Schools gives list of tags, and of course the official list from www Consortium will give you the list too. That's pretty much how you can start your life with HTML. It's a fantastic language. Start learning it right now.